Hello, sexy internet types and not so sexy ones as well, because we shouldn't forget you. What are you going to tell us about today, Neil? Well, I am going to tell you about this PRS S2 Singlecut in Satin Charcoal, which I bought myself very recently as a little treat. If you're watching the video, thank you very much. Please subscribe and all that nonsense that you have to do on YouTube these days. You're probably wondering why you should buy one of these over, say, a Les Paul Studio or something in that kind of price range, because these hover in the UK around the sort of £1,000 mark. As usual in these things, I like to start off by telling you the things that I am not so keen on or that I don't like about the guitar, and then go on to the positives. So let's start off with saying that one of the things I'm not so keen on is the tuning pegs. Now, they're really quite good quality lock. I don't know if they're the same ones as you get on all of the PRS US ones. They seem a little cheaper to me, even though they're locking. It's actually got brass. These stems here are made of brass. Along with the brass saddles along here, that gives it 2 contact points of brass, which I don't know what that does for sustain. You can argue about that all day, probably. But anyway, they're brass, and then they lock in place. You put the string through the hole and lock in place using the tops here, which you screw in with a flathead screwdriver. There's just something about these tuning pegs that doesn't scream quality to me, and in fact they're not amazingly accurate. You have to try quite hard to tune it and get it exactly where you want it. Once it's there though, the tuning stability is good, especially compared to any other kind of 3 up, 3 down tuning, like a Gibson Les Paul or an Epiphone or many Gretches. And because the headstock doesn't have a massive back angle on it, that helps the tuning stability massively. And also because the strings don't fan out massively widely like Gibson Les Pauls do, that helps to keep it in tune as well. So it actually stays in tune pretty well once you've got it in tune. So that's one of the things I'm not so keen on with the guitar. What are the other things? Well, the pots, both tone and volume. What you've got here is you've got these 2 pots are the tone and these 2 pots are the volume, bridge volume, neck volume. And you can probably see by me touching it, it's really quite loose. Not the knob itself, but how quickly the potentiometer moves. Now, I'm not so keen on that because I use my volume knobs quite a lot when I'm playing, and I want them to kind of stay where they are and not think if I accidentally brush them, and it literally moves with just a brush. I don't know if they call them frictionless or something like that, I'm really not sure. But there's very little friction in them, and you might think that's a really good thing. It's all subjective, but to me, I don't really like that. I would prefer it to be to have a little more friction on them, so I'm not going to accidentally change where I've left my volume pot. The second thing with these is that the push-pull pots for the to split the coils on the pickups, this one moves really easily, as you can see. This one, call me a liar, when you're actually playing, maybe because of the way the other knobs are, it's a little bit trickier to get to move. This one moves super simply. This one just needs a bit more of a pull, and considering they should be the same pot, you would expect to have to put the same sort of tension on them. It's a minor niggle though at the end of the day, you know. It's subjective, as I said. I don't use these very much. So those are the 2 things that I'm not so keen on this guitar, and if I'm honest, they're the only 2 things that I really don't like. So let's go into the positives and what I really do like about the guitar. Well, firstly, in my opinion, this out Les Paul's a Les Paul, in that what a Les Paul does, you know, the mahogany body, maple cap, admittedly this doesn't have a maple cap, but a mahogany body, mahogany neck, rosewood fretboard. This does it extremely well because you have this lovely chamfering around both the front, all the way around, I don't know if you can see that at the bottom as well, and in this cut here. You also have it on the back with this small belly cut. It's not a huge angle on it, but it makes a difference when you've got an enormous belly like mine. Les Pauls don't have that, and I've always found them a little bit uncomfortable to play because my forearm rubs on this part here, whereas on this you've got that little bit of chamfer which just takes that away. Same with tellies, anything like that. So it's almost like they've crossed a Gibson SG with a Gibson Les Paul and come up with this. That's the way I look at it. It's like a hybrid of a Les Paul and an SG. They've done a really good job with it, because the mahogany at its thickest point is the same thickness as a Les Paul, but at the thinnest point it is a fair bit thinner, as you can see, which does quite a lot to take the weight down. I've been standing here holding this up above me and it doesn't feel massively heavy. I would probably say it's only about a 7.5 pound guitar, you know, similar to a Strat or a Telly. Other things that I really like, the stock pickups, even though I've changed them, you can see here I've got a Seymour Duncan JB at the bridge and a Jazz at the neck. But the stock pickups, which I think are called number 7s from PRS, the stock pickups are actually really good as well. I only changed them because I had these lying about and I thought, I wonder what it sounds like with those in. So I took it to the guitar tech and he changed them because I'm rubbish at that sort of thing. And to my mind, they honestly don't really sound any different at all. They certainly haven't changed the voicing. Maybe these are ever so slightly hotter. Don't think that you're going to have to buy the guitar and change the pickups straight away, because you won't have to. They're really good pickups, really nice pickups. It's got a really nice satin finish all over, hence the name. It's a single cut satin neck, which I'm a big fan of, satin body all over, and it seems to be one piece. I can't see any obvious marks where they could have put two pieces together, because you can see the grain. Again, you can see the grain all the way through it, and I honestly can't see any obvious joins. It's a lovely piece of wood. Also, where the neck joins the body, it's a glued in neck, and it's a really lovely neck joint. That's just a really well done job. So these are made in the American factory still. Really well assembled, really well put together. I haven't had any problems with it at all so far. I've only had it about a month or two. It's a nice piece of rosewood for the neck. The frets are, they're not jumbo. They're sort of, I would say, medium and very nice. Nickel, I think, rather than steel. But I was going to say the neck is relatively... People say it's chunky, but it doesn't feel that chunky to me. It feels fairly normal to me. I've got a Sir Classic with what they call a medium C on the neck, and it actually feels very similar to me. Anyway, what else can I say about this guitar? They've improved the bridge. The original bridge didn't have adjustable saddles like this one has, and they're brass saddles, adjustable from the front, with a small flathead screwdriver. The switch feels of really good quality. Certainly doesn't seem to make too much noise when you're using it. And all in all, a really, really nice guitar to play. It just feels, you know, when you're standing up with it, it feels like a good rock machine. And I think that's probably who it's aimed at. Someone who doesn't mind, you know, this guitar getting a few dings and scratches, because it's got a really, really thin nitro covering, nitro lacquer, veneer, no, not veneer, that's wrong, a nitro lacquer, which has sort of gone into the pores of the guitar, so it feels very satin. You can't really feel any lacquer. And I've seen pictures of people who've had these guitars only a short time and they're already starting to scratch, you know, around here and around here, the colours coming off, and you can see the wood underneath. But I think that's actually very nice, because you can relic your own guitar in no time. If you use this regularly and you're, you know, bashing it around, putting it back in its box and its case, and you know, just generally at gigs, this will probably become relict quite quickly, and it will look really nice, I think. I would definitely recommend that you get one if you can, and I personally think it's better than any of the Les Paul Studios that I've played over the years, so it's just my opinion. Your mileage might vary, as they say. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, and hopefully see you again soon. Bye. I'm having a bit of a bad hair day today. Look, it's all just sort of sprouting out of the back. Look at that. I just washed it and then took the dog for a walk on my daily mandated exercise. And I look like someone from the 80s now, like Glenn Medeiros. Remember him?